All right. Once again, we are back. Surround Sound Podcast. Our guest is ready, but you know how technical difficulties go. Trying to be a one-man band here. She'll pop up here in just a second. All right, here we go. We're about to get our guest in here. Miss Alysha Clark is in the building.
There we go.
All right. Everyone, the three-time WNBA champion, Miss Alysha Clark. How you doing, Mama?
I'm alive. I'm alive and well.
Yeah, I hear a little bit of is that a hoarseness?
Yeah, it's been a long week. It's been a long week.
I can definitely dig it, man. Hey, I appreciate you. After yesterday's parade, I appreciate you giving us a little time and hanging out with us. Tennessee's favorite daughter, for real, for real. Mount Juliet is where you're from. As I was looking at the accolades, at least just from that far out, like, okay, so it's just papers. It's just, like accolades here and far, man. But first up, what does it feel like to be bringing your third WNBA championship to the Ten?
Man, it's special. This is, as professional athletes, like, you never know when you're going to get these opportunities, when you're going to be in a position to even compete for a championship. So the fact that I've been able to be in positions where I've gotten that 3 times now, I can't even put into words how just special it is. And to be able to do it with the group that we have here and just the character and quality.
All right, we've hit a snag. No problem.
Wait, this is
technology is a beast, but don't worry about it. I'm gonna cut it up and hey, we'll be good to go.
Uh-oh. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me now? You can't hear me? Okay. As we wait for Alysha Clark to come back, please forgive us for that technical difficulty. She has a lot of accolades. I'm talking about high school Gatorade Player of the Year. Then to bring it up to college, she was a 4-time All-Conference Player of the Year. Then to bring it to the WNBA, 2-time All-Defensive. She get buckets, So let me bring her back on. All right. Okay, so we're back. I was saying that in your career, like stemming from high school, you've been Gatorade Player of the Year. To come to college ranks, you was a 4-time All-Conference Player of the Year. Then to hit the WNBA, All-Defensive twice, of course, 3-time WNBA champion. Then 2023 6th Player of the Year. And then you get buckets. Let's make no mistake about it. You get buckets. So from what I was seeing, like you're like second league all-time field goal percentage. What kind of mindset must a person have to be that type of two-way player that you are?
I think the first part of it is adaptable, like being adaptable, being able to, do whatever's needed, but be able to play on both sides of the ball. And honestly, for me, like the way that I operate on the defensive side of the ball, even offensively, the way I like to study the game and the way I like to work and stuff, it's low key, a little obsessive.
No doubt.
Because like I want to be the best that I can possibly be, and not comparing that to anybody else or their accolades, but just for myself, like how can I be the best version of myself? And whenever I walk away from this game, I want to be able to walk away being like, I did and left everything out there. There was nothing more I could have worked harder for. There's nothing more I could have done. I literally left it all there. And so I think that's what helps drive me. And then the other biggest piece is never being complacent. That's something for me that I, live my life by, not just even on the court, but just in general. And so I think that always helps keep a fresh perspective in that way. And just being able to always want to get better, always, competing when I step out there, it kind of just fuels that.
Hey, I can dig that. I can dig that. That complacency, always the obsessiveness. It's like you spoke to me. You're preaching right now. You spoke to me on that one because friends that I've had, they're like, okay, so you're going to watch every game? And I'm like, yeah, right now, I call it my peak season because there's so many sports going on. I got to watch every game because the eyeball test for me is heavy. And I understand, yeah, for you, it's the same way.
Yeah.
You spoke here just a second ago about leaving it all on the court. I was going to say this question for later, but it was an excellent segue. 10 years in right now. I watched the game, an NFL game the other day. The guy was born in 2002. I said that to say this, Mama. We were born in the 80s.
Yeah.
So do we see the end of a fabulous career coming on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, I have more years behind me than I do in front of me. But, that's something that I'll reevaluate in a couple of years to see how my body feels. See how I'm moving. Because right now I don't feel 36. I don't feel like I played like I look 36. I don't feel old. And, I want to be able to walk away on my own 2 feet. I don't want to have to, have an injury or have the game, kick me out. I want to be able to walk away and stand, 10 toes down, walking away from this. Because that's how I got into it. I walked in, my way and created a path for myself through this league and, on this journey and just being what it's taken to get to this point. For me, I'm like, I would love to be able to walk away on my own. So yeah, there's definitely more years behind me than there are in front of me, but we still got another championship to compete for next year that we want to go get. So
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I can definitely dig that. It's funny, people calling you guys a super team, and albeit true, but you guys got it out the mud. I was listening to Kelsey Plum talk about the emergence of the Las Vegas Aces and bringing on pieces like you. Maybe you guys are just a super team. As we continue.
That's not a narrative we bought into. Oh, I was just saying that was never a narrative that we bought into. It was something that the media wanted to create just to create excitement, which I get. But for us, like nobody was considering them a super team last year, and they basically, had the same roster. And now it's like you add 2 veteran pieces, and then people wanted to be like, oh, it's a super team. And for us, it was like that was never it. There's been plenty other teams with a bunch of star power on it, so that was just not a narrative we ever bought into.
I can definitely dig that. All right, next up, going forward, what's going to be the key thing? What's going to be the key cog to dispel complacency and going for possibly? I'm not saying that you're guaranteeing it or nothing like that, but going into next season, what do you feel like will be that main thing that says, hey, this is what we need to attack mentally to make sure that we get to the next level and compete for a championship again?
The great thing about this season was everybody got to play with that feeling that everybody's gunning for you. You literally every night we got everybody's best shot. Like nights we played teams, you had players that, couldn't score in other games, but are having the game of their life against us. And so it's like, you understand, we got that experience this year that like, you got to always be on your A game. You got to be in that space. So I think that experience is going to help fuel for next year. But we have a team of dogs. We have a team of hungry competitors, of young superstars in their prime that want more. And I think that hunger in itself is enough to motivate us, because that was what it was this year. They set very intentional goals at the beginning of the season, was like, it's always going to be aces versus aces. And that's all we focus on this entire year, so we can put ourselves in a position where we want to be at the end of the season. And so I think that experience of having to go through this season and playing with the understanding and the pressures of, people coming for you and getting their best game every night, I think is going to help us next year and help keep us locked in and focused on what it is that we need to do every single day, which is the same approach we had this year. But when you have a coach at the helm like Becky Hammond,
Coach
that
Hammond.
just gets it and understands and can help, lay that foundation from the very beginning. She helps check that. If she feels we're getting off kilter or not staying focused, she checks it real quick. And we check each other in that space. So it's good to have somebody at the top like that, and then just have a group around you that's hungry and wants more.
That's cool. That's cool. As we reset, once again, we got Alysha Clark of the WNBA, 3-time champion. She is Tennessee's favorite daughter, Mount Juliet's very own, in the building with us. I got 2 questions left for you because I got to give you some time to rehydrate and to get some rest. But I would be remiss if I did not say these 2 questions. First question, I have not been this excited about a WNBA championship series in a couple of years, since I think the Comets, so this was back in the late 90s, since the Comets were going for their 2nd championship. Looking at the landscape of just women's basketball right now, there's some exciting things going on with NCAA. We got a couple of people that will be coming into the league. We got this blossoming rivalry between you guys and the New York Liberty. I'm talking about just great players everywhere. What do you feel about women's basketball right now in the United States?
I mean, it's an exciting time. I've been a part of this league for 12 years now, and I remember when I first came into the league, what it felt like. And so now to be in a space where public, get to see what we've been talking about now. Just, we're talking about putting us on mainstream television, putting us on streaming services that people have so they can see us. If they can't see us, they don't know we exist. They can't bond, they can't follow us, they can't root for us. And so now to be in a space where we are in prime time, you're seeing the product that's out there on the floor night in and night out. The investments are coming now to be able to support that on not just 1 or 2 teams, but all across the board. And so I think it's raising the level. I can speak for us in terms of WNBA, but it's raising the bar. Collegiate NCAA basketball has always been, people followed and loved and did all that stuff, but there was a disconnect between that and our league. And so I think now you're starting to see that fan base pay more attention because we're accessible now to them.
Right.
And so it's an exciting time. It's fun to be a part of. It's fun to be able to say that I helped plant some seeds, that one day will grow and blossom years down when I'm far retired. But it's an exciting time. You see a lot of really young, talented women on the college level, and even in our league. Our league is so young now. When I got in, it was a veteran-heavy league, and now there's so many young players. So it's exciting for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome, and so happy to hear that. Last question. Okay, I'm game time. Game 5. Well, game 4. I'm like, oh, okay. Hey, she doing work. I'm putting putting stats on Twitter and all this. And this guy says, "Oh yeah, and she fine." What? Or what is? And I was deflated. And then I was like, I'm a guy and I'm deflated. I wonder how some of these players are, how they feel when you doing work and somebody says something like, "Oh yeah, and she fine," not even recognizing that you're a top-notch elite athlete. How do you feel when that comes into the arena when dealing with women's sports?
I mean, for me personally, I honestly don't pay attention to a lot of that stuff. I understand that people are gonna think certain things, whether you're feminine presenting or not, whether you are beautiful to somebody or not. And so for me, it's just you learn with all the other comments, just kind of like ignore it and roll, just kind of roll past it. Because for me, that my looks have never been what I've hung my hat on or tried to
Can't
use
stand
as a
on that.
way, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's not ever
Can't
something
stand
I've
on
ever
that.
done.
Yeah.
So I've
Me
like,
neither.
thank you for the
Me neither.
compliment.
Okay. I'm just saying. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
So for me,
yeah.
it's like, thank you for the compliment. But like, don't lose sight of the fact that I am a professional athlete at this level,
No doubt.
and competing in that way. Cause that for me is what it's all about. But hey, if he's tuning in because he thinks a player is beautiful or fine or whatever, and he's watching, that's fine. Cause that brings our viewership up. That brings more dollars to us. Like, whatever gets you in the door to help keep you there, do your thing.
I can dig that. Hey, Miss Clark, AC, I appreciate your time. We've hit our 15-minute mark. I appreciate your time, your information. You hollering at us. I hope we can do this again. It was to meet and talk to a person that got rings. It was definitely a pleasure on our part. Once again, for everybody that is tuning in, we got the great Alysha Clark in the building. Surround Sound Podcast, man. Over and out. Peace, Miss Clark. You be cool out there.
Thank you. All right.